All right, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into how artificial intelligence is totally changing the game, literally. You sent over this article and it really got me thinking, this isn't just about AI making games look better. This is about AI changing how these worlds are made and how we as players experience them.
Yeah, you're right on with that. It really is a huge shift. I mean, we're going way past the days of simple AI like those ghosts in Pac-Man just following you around.
Right.
It's like we've entered this whole new world where AI could just create these massive landscapes and build these opponents that actually learn how you play and even come up with some crazy complex stories. It's wild.
It's like AI is going from just a set of rules, like you said, to some kind of creative partner.
Absolutely. And it's happening everywhere you look in game development. Take world building, for example. I mean, it used to be the game worlds were pretty static,
Yeah.
kind of limited.
Yeah.
But now with AI and this thing called procedural generation, we've got games like, Minecraft, where the world is built as you explore it.
Right.
Crazy, right?
Wow. I have to admit, I kind of took Minecraft for granted. I knew it was procedurally generated, but I never really thought about how it was AI doing all that behind the scenes work.
It's easy to miss, but the AI in Minecraft is doing some really impressive stuff. It's not just like throwing blocks around randomly. It's creating these whole biomes like forests, deserts, everything. They even have their own plants, animals, and even dungeons.
Wow.
And every time you start a new world, the AI makes sure it's different and full of surprises.
So it's not just a big world, it's a world that feels like someone actually put it together by hand, even though it's made by an algorithm. That's really something.
It really shows you how far AI has come, and this kind of like living world building totally changes the way we play. It makes us want to explore and discover new things, keeps us coming back for more.
And what's really exciting is how AI is being used to make gameplay itself better. The article talked about AI opponents that learn from your moves, and they mentioned The Last of Us Part 2 as a really good example.
Yeah, that game really shows off what's called reinforcement learning. It's basically where the AI that controls the enemies is always watching how you play and changing how it acts based on what you do. Like if you prefer to be stealthy, the AI will start to be more careful, spread out more, try to flank you.
Ah, that's so cool.
If you run in with guns blazing, it might call for backup or try to ambush you. You never know.
So it's almost like you're playing against another person who's always trying to outsmart you. It must make every encounter so much more intense.
Exactly. And this kind of AI-driven challenge isn't just for action games. We're seeing it in strategy games, puzzle games, even sports games. It's making opponents feel less like computer programs and more like, well, intelligent adversaries.
And speaking of smart AI, this article made me realize how much potential AI has to make gaming truly for everyone. It really highlighted how some developers are using AI to make games that are accessible to players with disabilities, especially those with visual impairments.
Yeah, that's an area where AI can make a huge difference.
Mm.
For players who are blind or can't see well, a lot of games have just been impossible to play.
Yeah.
But AI is changing that by making new ways to experience and play games.
The article mentioned The Veil, Shadow of the Crown, which is an RPG that's totally audio-based.
Oh, it's incredible.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Can you tell us a bit more about how that works?
it's amazing. The Veil uses 3D sound and AI to create this rich world that you explore entirely through what you hear.
Mm.
Imagine hearing enemies getting closer based on their footsteps, the sounds of their weapons, even their voices.
Wow.
Yeah,
So instead of relying on visuals, the game creates this 3D soundscape that players use to move around and interact.
exactly. It's groundbreaking in terms of accessibility. And it really opens up a whole new way of thinking about game development. It makes you think about how much we depend on sight when we play games and how AI can create these other sensory experiences.
That's a great point. And it's not just about replacing visuals. The AI in the Veil also plays a big part in storytelling and guiding the player through the world.
Absolutely. It's like having this narrator who adapts to what you do and helps you understand the world around you, all through sound.
That's pretty mind-blowing. But I'm curious about other ways AI is being used for accessibility. The article mentioned things like text-to-speech and haptic feedback. Can you tell me more about those?
Sure, so text-to-speech is getting really good thanks to AI, which means players who have trouble reading or can't see well can now enjoy games that rely heavily on text.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then there's haptic feedback, which lets you actually feel the game through vibrations. That's also being improved by AI.
So AI isn't just about making visually amazing worlds and challenging opponents. It's also about making gaming more inclusive and accessible to everyone.
Exactly. and it's only going to get more exciting from here. We've talked about AI building worlds, designing adaptive gameplay, and making games more accessible. But what about the stories themselves? I mean,
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting to me. The article mentioned AI being used to create stories that change based on the player's choices and actions. Is that something that could actually happen soon?
oh, it's definitely coming, and we're already starting to see it in some games. AI can analyze what decisions you make, how you play, even how you react emotionally to certain things that happen, and then it changes the story based on that.
You mean in the future, our game experiences could be as unique as our own lives, with stories that go in directions we never saw coming?
That's the promise of AI-driven narratives. It has the potential to make games so personal and immersive, like nothing we've seen before.
This is all incredible, but, I do have some questions. If AI can do all of this, what does it mean for the people who make games? Will they still have jobs?
That's a good question, and we'll dig into that more in a minute. But first, I think it's important to understand that AI has this amazing potential to create content on a massive scale.
Right. The article mentioned AI being able to make quests, write dialogue, even design entire characters, like instantly.
It's a crazy possibility,
It
right?
really is.
It could mean that games would be constantly changing and growing, always adding new stuff as you play. Imagine a game where every player has a totally different experience because the content is tailored to them.
Wow, that would be amazing. But I'm also curious about how AI might change things behind the scenes, while the game is actually being developed.
Ah, yeah. That's another really interesting area where AI is starting to have an impact. We're seeing the rise of these AI-powered tools that can help developers work faster, smarter, and more creatively.
Oh, cool. Can you give me some examples of how these tools might be used?
Well, picture this. An AI tool that looks at a game level and suggests ways to improve the layout, make it more exciting, or even tweak how difficult it is. Or imagine an AI that can create character designs based on what the developer wants, giving them a starting point.
So it's like having an AI partner working with the developers, helping them get past creative blocks and push the limits of what's possible in games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these AI tools are only going to get better and easier to use in the next few years, which could completely change how games are made. But before we get too deep into that, let's think about how AI might change storytelling in games.
Yeah, we've talked about AI-driven narratives, but I'd love to explore that more. What are the challenges and possibilities of having AI write stories that aren't just fun, but also make you feel something and make you think?
That's where the real magic is, and
Yep.
maybe some controversy too. And that's exactly what we'll get into in the next part of our deep dive.
So, we've talked about how AI could totally change how games are made, played, and even how we experience them. But let's talk about the story. I mean, can AI really write stories that are as good as those written by, actual humans?
Ah, that's the big question,
Yeah.
right? And it's one that people are really debating. Some say that AI, at least for now, just can't capture those subtle things, the emotional depth, that real understanding of what it means to be human that makes a story truly great.
Yeah, I can see that. There's something about a well-written story that just connects with us on a deeper level. Can an algorithm really do that?
It's tough, no doubt. But remember, AI is always learning and getting better. We're already seeing AI being used to analyze tons of text like classic books and movie scripts to figure out what makes stories so captivating. It's learning about character development, plot twists, pacing, all those things that make a story work.
So it's like AI is going to school for storytelling, learning from the best, right?
Exactly. And by putting that knowledge together with its ability to process information and write, AI could become this incredible tool for crafting narratives. Imagine an AI that could help writers come up with plot ideas, develop characters, or even write dialogue that sounds natural and believable.
That's pretty convincing. So instead of replacing writers, AI could be like their partner, helping them improve their ideas and take their storytelling further than ever before.
Precisely. It's all about working together, not replacing anyone. And I think this idea of collaboration goes beyond just writing. We were talking about those AI-assisted design tools earlier, and I think they're going to be super important in helping developers bring their stories to life in even more immersive and engaging ways.
Those design tools really intrigue me. Could you give us some more specific examples of how they might be used?
Okay, so picture an AI tool that can read a game script and then suggest what the environment should look like, what music should play, or even how the lighting should be to really make a scene hit home emotionally. Or Imagine an AI that can create character animations that show subtle emotions, making those characters feel more real and relatable.
It's like having an AI director working with the human team, making sure everything in the game helps tell the story better.
Exactly. And as these tools get even more advanced, I think we'll see games that are not just visually stunning, but also emotionally powerful. Games that truly pull players into the story and stay with them long after they've finished playing.
This is all super exciting, but I also wonder, are there any downsides? If AI is creating so much of the game, from the world to the characters to the story, do we risk losing something that makes games feel human and unique?
Yeah, that's a legitimate concern. And it's something that game developers are going to have to think carefully about as AI becomes a bigger part of how they work. But it's important to remember that in the end, humans are still the ones making the big decisions. We decide what stories we want to tell, what characters we want to create, what kind of world we want to build.
So it's about using AI as a tool to help us be more creative, not to replace our creativity altogether.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right balance between what AI can do and what humans bring to the table, using the best of both to create something truly special.
That makes sense. But what about the impact on the game development industry as a whole? We've talked about how AI could potentially speed up development and make it more efficient. Could that change the types of games that get made, or even who gets to make them?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. AI-powered tools could make it easier for anyone who wants to make games to actually do it. Imagine if anyone with a great story idea and access to these tools could create a really cool game.
So we could see a lot more indie games being made with more diverse voices and perspectives showing up in the games we play.
Exactly. And that could lead to a much more interesting and innovative gaming world.
Hmm.
But it also makes you wonder about what will happen to those big game studios. Will they start using AI and adapt to all these changes, or will they struggle to keep up?
It sounds like the whole game development industry is about to go through a major transformation.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be fascinating to watch how it all plays out. But in the midst of all this excitement, there's another question we should think about. The impact of AI on the players themselves.
You're right, we can't forget about the human side of things. How might AI change how we play games and even how we think about ourselves as players?
Now, that's a great question, and it opens up a whole new set of possibilities and challenges that we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
So, we've talked about how AI could completely change the way games are developed. But what about us, the players? How will AI change the way we experience games and the stories they tell?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Imagine playing a game that doesn't just react to what you do, but actually anticipates your next move. A game that learns how you like to play and adjusts the challenge to match.
So, it's not just about choosing a difficulty setting, it's about the game constantly changing to create a truly unique experience for each player.
Exactly. Imagine a game that knows when you're struggling and makes things a little easier without you even noticing. Or a game that throws in some unexpected twists when you're finding things too easy.
It's like having a personal coach for your gaming skills, always pushing you to get better but never making you feel overwhelmed.
Precisely. And this level of personalization could even go beyond just the gameplay and into the story itself. Imagine a game that can tell how you feel about certain events and then changes the story to match.
So, like, if I'm really attached to a certain character, the game might give me more chances to interact with them or even change the whole story based on my choices.
That's the idea. It's all about creating a story that feels alive and reactive, where the player feels like they're truly shaping what happens.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. But it also makes me wonder, if games become that personalized, are we going to lose that feeling of playing games together, that shared experience?
That's a really good point. But I think there's a chance that AI could actually make the social side of gaming even better. Imagine a game that can connect players who have similar playstyles or interests, creating a sense of community.
So instead of just playing alongside someone, you're playing with someone who really gets how you like to play.
Exactly. And this could lead to some really interesting dynamics,
Yeah.
especially in games where you have to work together and communicate.
I can see that. It's like having an AI matchmaker finding the perfect teammates for you.
And even beyond matchmaking, AI could be used to help players communicate better, maybe even translate languages so people from all over the world can play together more easily.
That's incredible. But I have to admit, I'm a little nervous too. If games become so immersive and personalized, will we ever want to stop playing?
That's a fair concern. And it's something we all need to think about as AI starts to blur the line between what's virtual and what's real. But it's important to remember that we always have the choice of how we use technology.
You're right. It's up to us to use these tools in a healthy way and to find a good balance between our virtual lives and our real lives.
Absolutely. And I believe that AI has the potential to not only entertain us, but also to teach us new things, to connect us with others,
Yeah.
and to inspire us in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Well, I don't know about you, but after this deep dive, I'm feeling really optimistic about the future of gaming.
Me too. It's a really exciting time to be a gamer, and I can't wait to see what incredible experiences are waiting for us down the road.
And to our listener, we hope you enjoyed this exploration of AI and the future of gaming. Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep playing. Because the future of gaming is in our hands, and it's gonna be amazing.